I thought I knew her. I thought I could trust her. But everything changed the moment I heard her voice, whispering secrets I was never meant to know. Marcus Blackwood stepped off the plane, his feet finally on solid ground after the long flight from Tokyo. He'd just finalized the biggest deal of his career, something that had taken months of hard work. He was proud of himself, but more than anything, he couldn't wait to reunite with his wife, Vanessa. He had the perfect surprise for her. A vintage watch from a small shop in Ginza, its design as elegant and timeless as their love. Their 10th anniversary was just around the corner, and he had imagined the joy on her face when he gave it to her. Everything felt perfect. But despite his excitement, a strange feeling gnawed at him, an unease that he couldn't shake. He dismissed it as exhaustion from the long flight, but deep down, he couldn't ignore the feeling that something was off. As the cab pulled up to their penthouse in New York, Marcus took a deep breath. The apartment was quiet, the kind of peaceful calm that felt like home. Soft music floated through the air, mixing with the faint scent of Vanessa's favorite candles. Everything seemed normal, just as he had left it. "Vanessa," he called softly, eager to see her, to hold her in his arms again. But there was no response. As he walked further into the apartment, something stopped him in his tracks. The faint sound of Vanessa's voice, soft, intimate, floated from the bedroom. It didn't sound like any ordinary conversation. "Oh, Alexander," Vanessa's voice whispered. "Last night was amazing. Marcus is so boring in bed compared to you." The world seemed to tilt beneath Marcus's feet. He froze, his breath caught in his throat. "Alexander?" Marcus stood frozen, his heart pounding in his chest. Vanessa's voice, soft and intimate, echoed through the hallway. He didn't want to believe it, didn't want to hear the words coming from her lips, but he couldn't stop listening. "Oh, Alexander," she purred, her voice a tone of pure satisfaction. "Last night was amazing. Marcus is so boring in bed compared to you. I can't wait for our trip next week. It's going to be perfect." The words hit him like a blow to the stomach. His mind raced, struggling to process the truth. He had always trusted Vanessa, his wife of 10 years. They had built a life together, and now, in an instant, that life was falling apart. The woman he loved had betrayed him, with a man named Alexander. His legs went weak. The beautiful future he'd envisioned, watching their kids grow, traveling the world together, celebrating anniversaries, had been shattered in one cruel conversation. He never imagined something like this could happen to him, to them. Frozen in place, he heard Vanessa end the call, and his entire body seemed to tense, as if he were bracing for impact. The seconds dragged on, stretching into an eternity, until he finally found the strength to move. He walked almost mechanically to his home office, shutting the door behind him. Sinking into the chair at his desk, Marcus stared at the empty room, his thoughts a chaotic mess. He didn't know what to do, what to say. The betrayal stung deeper than he could have ever imagined. His mind screamed for him to confront her right away, to demand answers, to force her to admit what he'd heard. But something inside him told him to wait. His anger boiled beneath the surface, but there was also a quiet resolve forming. He wouldn't make a rash decision. He needed proof, solid, undeniable proof that couldn't be disputed. He had to be sure. He pulled up their shared calendar on his computer. The marketing retreat, next week, a week-long trip where Vanessa would be away with Alexander. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. This was it. The perfect opportunity to uncover the truth. Marcus set his jaw. He wouldn't confront her yet. He would hire someone. Someone who could dig deeper, follow her every move, and bring him the cold, hard facts he needed. The next morning, Marcus wasted no time. He made the call to Veronica Reyes, a private investigator whose name had been given to him by a colleague. He explained the situation, his voice steady but tinged with anger. Veronica's calm, professional tone was a welcome contrast to the storm raging inside him. "I need you to follow my wife," Marcus said, his voice low. "She's going on a business retreat next week, and I believe she's having an affair with her boss, Alexander. I need evidence, photos, videos, audio, whatever you can get. Audio? There was a brief silence before Veronica responded. Understood, Mr. Blackwood. We'll take care of everything. I'll need a retainer to get started. Marcus agreed without hesitation. Money was no object now. He had to know the truth, no matter what it cost. The days leading up to the retreat felt like an eternity. Marcus stayed busy with work, throwing himself into projects and meetings, trying to distract himself from the gnawing pit in his stomach. But no matter what he did, he couldn't shake the image of Vanessa and Alexander, together, laughing, touching. As the days passed, the distance between him and Vanessa grew. She was still her usual self, charming, affectionate, but there was something off. Her excitement about the retreat was palpable, her eyes sparkling as she talked about the team-building exercises and strategy sessions. Marcus forced himself to act normal, to smile and nod as she spoke. But every time she left the room, every time she turned her back, he felt the walls closing in. He couldn't escape the feeling of being watched, of his every move being scrutinized. The more he tried to act like everything was fine, the more distant he felt from her. Meanwhile, Veronica's updates began to trickle in. She was already on the ground, preparing for Vanessa's arrival at the retreat. But the images, the hard evidence, hadn't come in yet. Each update only fueled Marcus's impatience, the suspense building as the hours ticked by. He couldn't help but feel a sense of dread growing with each passing day, his suspicion of Vanessa solidifying into certainty. As the day of the retreat drew closer, Marcus's anticipation reached its peak. He knew that the moment Vanessa left for the trip, he would have everything he needed to confront her with the truth. There was no going back. After what felt like an eternity of waiting, the package from Veronica finally arrived. Marcus tore it open, the contents inside confirming his worst fears. There, in black and white, were dozens of high-quality photographs. Vanessa and Alexander, together in every one. The first photo showed them laughing by the pool, his arm around her waist. Another captured them seated at a candlelit dinner, their heads bent toward each other in an intimate conversation. But it was the final set of photos that hit hardest. Vanessa and Alexander locked in a passionate kiss on the beach, the setting sun casting long shadows, as if to underscore the finality of what Marcus was seeing. There was no denying it. The proof was right in front of him. His wife had betrayed him. Alongside the photos was a small USB drive. Marcus hesitated before inserting it into his laptop, his fingers trembling as he clicked open the files. His stomach churned as Vanessa's voice echoed through the speakers. "You're insatiable, Alexander," she whispered breathlessly. "What if someone sees us?" Alexander's laugh followed, low and teasing. "Let them look, Vanessa. I can't keep my hands off you." Each word, each sentence, cut through Marcus like a knife. His hands shook as he scrolled through more pictures, each one worse than the last. His mind raced. This was real. This was happening. The betrayal was undeniable, and the woman he'd trusted with everything had shattered his world. The anger was there, but underneath it, something else was building, a cold determination. He couldn't just let this go. He had to confront her to make her understand the pain she had caused him. But he wouldn't do it immediately. Not yet. Marcus knew the confrontation would change everything, but it would happen on his terms. When Vanessa returned from the retreat, she would think everything was fine. And then, he would show her the truth. Vanessa returned from her retreat a few days later, her energy high, her smile bright. As soon as she stepped through the door, her usual warmth filled the space. "Marcus, you're home early," she beamed, stepping forward to embrace him. But Marcus didn't move. He stood still watching her, his face unreadable. The warmth of her embrace felt hollow, the way she pressed her lips to his cheek too practiced. He could see it now, the cracks in her facade. Her happiness was forced, a lie he no longer wanted to believe. "Hi," he said calmly, his voice controlled, betraying nothing. "How was your retreat?" Vanessa shrugged, her smile unwavering. "It was great. A little intense, but really productive. I'm just glad to be home." Marcus nodded, his eyes never leaving her face. His emotions churned beneath the surface. Betrayal, anger, sadness. But he held it all in. He couldn't let her see the storm inside him. Not yet. Instead, he took a deep breath, reached into his jacket pocket, and pulled out the envelope containing the photos and USB drive. Without a word, he slid it across the table toward her. Vanessa glanced at the envelope, confusion flickering in her eyes. She reached for it, hesitating for just a second before she tore it open. As she looked through the photos, her face drained of color. The blood drained from her face, and her hand trembled as she turned the pages. Marcus watched her every move, his gaze steady. He said nothing as she absorbed the truth, the reality of what had happened settling over her like a suffocating weight. "What is this, Marcus?" she stammered, her voice small. The mask she'd carefully crafted for the past week started to crumble. She could no longer pretend. Vanessa's tears came quickly. "Marcus, I didn't mean for this to happen. It was a mistake. I never wanted to hurt you. I love you. I'm so sorry." Her voice cracked with desperation. But Marcus wasn't listening. He had heard the lies for too long. Her apology was just words now. Empty. Meaningless. The pain that once consumed him was slowly being replaced by a cold detachment. He felt nothing but a quiet resolve. This was over. Vanessa continued to sob, begging him to forgive her. "Please, Marcus. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I never wanted to lose you." But Marcus was done. His eyes locked onto hers, steady and unyielding. "I can't do this anymore, Vanessa. I can't trust you. Not after this." Her sobs grew more frantic, her words desperate. "Please, Marcus, don't do this. We can fix this. We can work through it." But Marcus stood firm, his heart no longer swayed by her cries. The damage was done. The trust was broken beyond repair. He couldn't be the man who forgave this betrayal. Not again. Not after everything. With a final cold look, Marcus turned and walked away, leaving Vanessa alone in the ruins of what was once their life together. Thanks for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more stories like this. Until next time, take care.